my name is Gabe Howard, and I am excited to welcome you to this week's NAMI at Home Facebook Live series. We have an awesome guest, but before we get to that, I'm of course going to tell you all about the NAMI Tennessee email list. You don't want to miss out on anything. Things like the Facebook Live, like curated content, all the cool things that NAMI Tennessee is doing week after week after week. So let's see if I line it up this time. There's the email right there. Join the NAMI Tennessee email list just by going to namitn.org and signing up. All right, well, that's enough of that. I will leave that on the screen for a couple more minutes, and you will have an opportunity to sign up. It's very easy. namitn.org, sign up for the email list. But Wendy, how are you?
I am well. How are you, Gabe?
Very well. I am so excited that you are here. Can you please introduce yourself to the NAMI at Home audience?
Sure. I am Wendy Ellmo, and I am a speech-language pathologist and brain injury specialist with Brain Links, and we are part of a nonprofit organization. We're a grant-based program that part of the Tennessee Disability Coalition that provides resources and training and resources for families, for anybody who works with people with traumatic brain injury.
I am super glad that you're here. Now, today that we're going to be talking about brain health. And is brain health something that needs to be discussed outside of our physical health? Is it not discussed enough? Is it something that people take for granted? Or are we just running around assuming that our brains are fine and protected when in actuality there's more that we need to be doing?
I think that we are talking about it more and more. I think it's really starting to become something that people are realizing is a problem. They're realizing that the number of people that will go on to develop dementia is increasing, and it's only going to be increasing more and more. It's really kind of an explosion. So part of it is in an effort to ward off that. But where I kind of got into it is because of my background in brain injury. We know that people with brain injuries, some of them, not everybody, you can go on to have problems and kind of like a decline over time. And so as a rehab person who worked in that population, I really wanted to do something else. I wanted to know, well, how can we stop some of that? And we can control, we can change our brains. We really, really can. And I think that's something that a lot of people don't realize, that we have the ability as a rehab person to work regardless of your age. You can start now.
Wendy, thank you so much. Now, I understand that there are 13 things that we are doing that's bad for our brain. There may well be more, but there's 13 like main things. And I know that's a big list, but I think it's important that we're aware of them so that we can stop doing them. Can you explain those to us, please?
Sure. And yeah, you're right. The list probably is longer than that. These are kind of the ones that I like to focus on. They are ones that are big in our lives. Inflammation is probably number one. So inflammation is swelling, and some inflammation in, let's say, your ankle after you twist it is really good. Inflammation in the brain is bad. It tends to destroy things because there is nowhere for your brain to swell because of your skull. And things that produce inflammation are things like all the sugar that we're consuming in a standard American diet. That's a big thing. So we want to just do anything we can to tamp down inflammation. Sedentary lifestyle. A lot of people with COVID are sitting a whole lot more. We don't even have to walk to the parking lot to get to our car anymore if we're going to work. Some people aren't shopping right now, so we're not walking into the Kroger parking lot. So we have to be moving more. We can talk more about that. Genetics. Genetics is not as bad as it sounds. So some people use genetics as, well, my family was big, or my family has breast cancer or Alzheimer's disease. Just because the gene is in your family doesn't mean that it has to express in your life. You can change whether you turn that gene on or off. It's a kind of subfield called epigenetics that shows that we have a whole lot of control. Toxins is another area. We need to watch the toxins in our lives. We need to watch our mental health because that can have a negative impact on our brains. Infections. COVID, they're showing, has some impact on the brain, but also things like Lyme's disease, neurohormone deficiency, obesity. So the research is showing that the bigger our bodies are, not height, but this way, out going out, the bigger our bodies are, the smaller our brains are, and that's not a good thing. Kind of related to that, diabetes, blood sugar fluctuations, not good for the brain. Poor sleep, not sleeping enough is bad. A lack of new learning is, we've got to be learning. Our brains need that. And then obviously things like brain injuries, so tumors, strokes, car accidents, like that. And then you might have been hearing more about ACEs, is the last one. ACEs is adverse childhood experiences. And there's a lot of research now that says that if you have enough of them, so this is like maybe your parents divorced, there were abusive people in the family, somebody was addicted to some substances, things like that. If you have enough of them, then it tends to create inflammation in the brain, and it also then sets you up to develop lots of diseases, and it usually shortens the lifespan. But again, nothing that I ever say, I don't want anybody to ever walk away and go, oh no, I'm doomed, this is terrible, I had these things, or I don't eat well, or whatever. No, we can change it, and that's my whole point in being here. Even the ACEs, and even because you've already had them and it can shorten lifespan and do all these things, we can change that. And so that's what we need to do.
So just to clarify, if anybody heard anything on that list that applies to them and are now worried, it's reversible. They can take actionable steps and improve their brain health moving forward.
Yes. And actually you can change your brain enough that you can see it on SPECT scan. So you can see if you, let's say you abuse alcohol and you've been doing it for years, that will show up on a SPECT scan, the part that shows blood flow. And then there have been a lot of afters though, and Dr. Amen is Daniel Amen is a big person for looking at SPECT scans and doing kind of before setting you up for a whole treatment plan, and involving a lot of these things that we're going to talk about. And you can see change, even repeated concussions. You can see the damage, and then you can see change. So for me, it's just mind blowing. It's incredible that we can have that much of an impact on our brain. So yes, don't fret over anything you hear me say.
I really appreciate that. You know, NAMI is the National Alliance on Mental Illness, and I know that one of the struggles that we have is we've got like our physical brain, you know, that's the thing that we can see and touch, and then we have our personalities. And NAMI spends a lot of time, of course, on mental illness. That's the thing that impacts our personalities. And I know that when we're talking about our brain health, we're talking about, you know, in many ways our physical brains. Now, how do those things, I mean, how do they go together? You know, mental illness is all in our brain, but brain health is different. I can see where this would become very confusing very quickly to somebody that does not have, you know, your expertise. Can you help the NAMI audience understand how brain health and mental illness or mental health go hand in hand?
Yes. So with mental health, we need to do everything that we can to improve our mental health. And there are a lot of things that we can try, and some things are going to work and some things aren't. And so we just keep on trying. So we know that in our brain, with mental health, sometimes we will see, if we look, I mentioned those SPECT scans, we'll see some areas that maybe are overactive. We might see areas that are underactive, depending on what's going on and what the issue is. And so it's important to try to balance some of that out. It can be done in a lot of different ways. One way, I mentioned Dr. Daniel Amen, what he talks about is identifying the ants. These are automatic negative thoughts. And he has a list of different kinds of ants. And we have to try to figure out what is our brain saying to us and how do we change that? And he uses the questions that Byron Katie uses. And the first one is it true? So everybody hates me. Maybe that's the thing that I'm saying to myself. Well, is that true? And maybe I, with that first question, I say, yeah, I kind of think it is. And then the second question is, well, can I know with 100% surety that it's true? Well, no, I can't. You know, some people like me You have to kind of break that down a little bit, and it starts to go away. And then you ask yourself, well, how do I feel when I believe this thought? Well, I feel terrible. I stay home. I don't go out and I don't do things. And how would I feel if I didn't have this thought? Oh, I would feel great. I would put myself out there more. I would be more interesting because I would share more of myself. So those are some ways that we can begin to attack some of the automatic negative thoughts that we have. Stress is another big one, especially right now. It's just whatever we had going on now, COVID put a whole other layer onto that. And I think what we have to remember about stress is that we do have control over that too. You can watch two different people approach the same task. Some are overwhelmed by it and some are okay with it, and maybe even excited about it. And so stress is usually, it's a fear, it's a worry about something that's going to happen in the future. It's not here right now. So we have to stay in the present and then look at what are the facts about this thing that I'm stressing over, and then what are my resources. And in dissipating it like that, we can also help our brain. Relaxation, especially relaxation that focuses on deep breathing. It's really hard to be stressed physiologically when you're deep breathing, and that just brings on a relaxation response. So that helps to deal with anxiety. Meditation, just 20 minutes will help to change our brain and induce relaxation. Yoga, 20 minutes can help to relax us, and again, it change our brains. And then physical activity, 30 minutes, but the more you do after that is also very, very helpful, can help just change mental health.
One of the things that seems like a very popular topic right now is resilience. And if I'm not mistaken, and please correct me if I am, you believe that having good resilience can improve our brain health. But what if you're not naturally resilient? Is this something that you can practice and become, or is it just innate in an individual?
You absolutely can. So, and most of us do throughout our lives. Now, some people will become less resilient as they kind of take it as being beaten down in a sense, but other people will use that to become more resilient. So resilience is the ability to bounce back from something. And what they've found, there's been a lot of, so anything I talk about, it's not my opinion. I go by the research. And the research says that there's something, when we get through something, there can be post-traumatic growth. So we can all come out of this situation that we're in right now better than we were before. And that's if we allow it. So it can produce improved relationships, greater spirituality, new possibilities for our lives, greater appreciation for our lives, and greater personal strength. Things like that is what the research has shown. So, but if you're, I hear you, if people, I'm not resilient, this is terrible, I can't bounce back. And so how do you cultivate it? You can cultivate resilience. One thing is overcoming, if you have negative thoughts and you know this about yourself, or people tell you this about yourself, it's a process, but you can shift it. When you hear the negative, shift it to a positive thing. Even if you don't fully believe it, just go with this can be better. What we need to do, according to the research, is commit to find meaning. I will find meaning in this. And I will tell you from personal experience, you can't always find it in that moment. The bad thing happened. You need some time. I said last time that I was in a car accident when I was 17, and I have kind of revisited that at several points in my life and just found new positive things. It was the worst thing that happened to me at that point in my life. It was devastating. Yet my husband was in the car behind us. And that, that started stating, and I got shifted into a whole new career choice. The whole rest of my life unfolded in a way that it created just a passion and a joy and an excitement for brain injury and helping people. And that never would have happened had that bad thing not happened. And it's important to kind of recognize. So look back, and if you can't find something now, revisit it. I could not have found that actually for years. A belief in the capacity to create a positive outcome. I can make this work. I can do it. And you keep telling yourself, even if you don't believe it right now, a willingness to grow, and the choice to laugh and be grateful. And it is a choice, and it doesn't feel like a choice some days, but there's always something. And I kind of think about the person telling me, especially with brain injury, I'm here in the hospital and my child is in that bed. And what can I possibly be grateful for? Well, maybe you can't find it in that situation, but you can look out the window and you can see the sunny day. And you say, well, it's nighttime. Okay, but you can see the stars, or I love rain, so whatever, so maybe you find your thing. Maybe they've got a vending machine on the floor and you can say, this is great. I don't have to leave the floor, but something, you just latch onto something, because gratitude produces incredibly positive changes in our brain. So we've got to try to do that. And 2 questions, in not jumping onto gratitude just yet, but with resilience, you ask yourself, what could possibly be right about this? And then what in yourself or in your life can you be grateful for right now, and try to find that thing.
As we were preparing for this show, Wendy, and we're doing brain health, I fully expected some sort of like brain exercise. I don't know what the push-up equivalent of brain health is, but this is sort of what I had pictured in my mind. Remember, I don't do your job, but the audience knows that. But you talk a lot about resilience and gratitude and which are mindfulness skills, and practicing understanding that things as we see them may not be as they are. And I just keep going back to, are you going to tell me to get more sleep and drink less and stop eating Twinkies? Is there an element of stop eating Twinkies that go along with this? Is it really both, or is it all perception? Or personality, I guess.
So there's research behind all of those things that you mentioned. So yes, stop eating the Twinkies. So what if I can jump to food, so I don't care how old you are, I don't care how bad your diet is, eat well and start now. Don't wait, don't think you've done too much damage, but all of those things. So if we improve in one area, so we just jumped off of mental health, well, the better things that we put into our body, the easier it is for us to make better decisions in other areas, because our brain has everything that it needs. The more we exercise, we're giving. So maybe you feel like, well, I can't improve my mental health right now. This is it. Okay, let's hold that right now, maybe. And maybe we work on the food, and we work on the exercise, and we work on trying to be resilient and sleep. We work on all of those other things, and we see what happens, because you're going to be changing your brain as you do that. So on food, we know that what they say is that Alzheimer's disease is incurable. Now, Dr. Amen will refute that a little bit, but let's just go with that. Alzheimer's disease is incurable, but it is preventable. And it's preventable with dietary and lifestyle changes. That is huge. We have huge numbers, I don't know off the top of my head, huge numbers of people developing Alzheimer's disease every day. And the caregiver burden is tremendous. And just the burden on society for the care is unbelievable. So, but we cannot have it to begin with. We can eat better. We can do all of the things that we're talking about here. So one of the biggest things that they say for Alzheimer's disease is to change our eating. And in the Journal of the Neurobiology of Aging, they say that we need to eat fruits, vegetables, legumes, which is things like beans and peas and lentils. And we need to replace dairy and meat with those things. So you could call that a vegan diet, or also they're moving toward this term whole food plant-based diet, because things like potato chips are technically vegan. Fries are technically vegan, depending on what they're fried in. So I was a very bad vegetarian years ago. And so if you whole food plant-based, then then you want to go in that direction to not even have it. To ward off stroke, we can also help our brains to not have a stroke. We need more fiber. People don't have enough of this, and this means whole grains. So pasta, white pasta that we normally eat, and white rice are not whole grains. They're going to be on the inflammation side of things. Potassium is good. Citrus is really good for increasing blood flow to all parts of the brain, but also to all parts of the body, but also to the brain. So if you have like cold fingertips, then try eating some citrus, like an orange, and you may see that what it does is it opens up the little tiny capillaries in your, say, in your fingers and your toes, but also we have that in our brains. So these are all good things that we can do.
I know that, and again, my research is a couple of hours, and your research is much longer. So please correct me if I'm wrong, but I understand that humans are social creatures, and I love people and I love being around people, and I just thought that was a preference. But I understand that there's research that people need people to have good brain health. Now, so is that correct?
Absolutely.
Okay, so now we're in COVID and we're not allowed to have people. So what's the workaround for this? How do we get this energy that we need for healthy brains?
So we've got to be social, because if you think about it, if you are being social, if you're talking to somebody and listening to somebody, your brain is working. You're listening and processing what they're saying, and you're also processing what you're going to say and finding words and all of that. And so it keeps our brains very active. It wards off Alzheimer's disease. It boosts our immunity. There's a whole list of what socialization does for us. And yeah, things are tougher now, but it can still happen. So think about different ways that you can get together with people. So something like this, even if maybe you're in the chat of things, and you can go on Eventbrite and right now see all kinds of events from all over the country and all over the world, and join in on some things. And so that's a good way. You're around people, you're listening, you're processing. It's not exactly the same, but it's still helpful. You can get on Zoom calls or any kind of virtual call with family and friends. Be careful with the internet. You can kind of, I think, get sucked down a hole with some of the social media platforms. Just make sure you're not doing that, that you're using it in a very good way. So I just joined, so exercise is something that's hard right now too, and exercise is incredible for our brains. It will actually reverse the shrinkage in the part of the brain. It will reverse it. It's not like, well, it'll make it hold steady. It'll do that. But if you already have shrinkage in the part of your brain for memory, it will, it can reverse that. That's why I'm talking, like, this is so powerful. So where social media comes in is, so I've been walking, or whatever you do, on an elliptical machine. And that's how I'm trying to get my cardiovascular exercise. And I just joined the Conqueror challenges, and I understand there are others, but you can go on and you can select a challenge. And so right now I'm walking from France to Spain on El Camino de Santiago, and I'm doing it all from my den downstairs, and you log your mileage. So why do I bring up social media? They have a Facebook page that is the most positive thing I have ever seen, especially social media. There is no negativity. I don't know if anybody's on there taking it down, but the stories that people tell and the encouragement, they you know, there'll be several hundred comments, and it is flat out positive. And so it's just, I just go and I try to touch it every day to just get that, you know, that boost of positivity. So you can use social media in a way. So I haven't talked to anybody with that. You know, I haven't even seen anybody's face except for the pictures that they post, but they make me smile anyway. And I feel a sense connected. And so that's another way that we can kind of have that sense of socialization.
One of the things that you brought up was exercise. Is all exercise created equal when it comes to our brain health?
It's a good question. It's not. So it has to be cardiovascular. If you're going to work, so cardiovascular means anything that gets your heart rate up. Maybe you're breathing a little more heavily as well. So it's going to be things like walking briskly, doing the elliptical, running, an exercise bike. So there's lots of things you can do inside too. And again, when people are like, well, it's too cold to go out, you go on this Conqueror Challenge and you can never use that excuse again. There was literally somebody walking through waist-high snow, and that was she was dedicated to exercise, and guaranteed she got her heart rate up. So I'm not suggesting you do that, but there are ways that you can do it. I have a terrible knee. I tore both of my knees years ago, and I've been rehabbing it and never trying to use that not as an excuse, but that are tougher for me. And someone suggested to me the elliptical. It's something that I can do. So, you can just find it. And if I couldn't do that, there's one of those exercise, I don't know what they're called, the ergometer or something like that, where you can get your heart rate going with your upper body. So try to get your heart rate up. That's the best way. So yoga, yeah, I mentioned it earlier. It's awesome for calming. It actually lights up the frontal lobe, which is what you want to have a lot of activity. So yoga can be helpful, but it's not the same kind. If you really want to work on your brain, then you need cardiovascular, and then you're working on your heart and everything.
And I forgot what I was going to ask. No, I'm just kidding. I was thinking about what you said about how it can reverse. If you're having memory issues and you do exercise, it can improve your memory. Did I hear that correctly? Because it sort of sounds very sci-fi. Like I just tell my grandmother to hop on a treadmill and suddenly she'll know how to use the phone that I've explained how to use 800 times. Is it that simplistic or...
No, so your grandma may never learn how to use the phone. You're a whole lot of new learning there and lots of steps. But yes, so the hippocampus is the part of our brain that we use the most for memory and new learning. And if that's not used enough with new learning, or if we just sit around a lot, if we do things that will work against our brain, our hippocampus will start to shrink. And exercise has proven to reverse that. It is crazy. It's just incredible. And we talked about mental health and the overlap of a lot of these things, and they are so interconnected. But exercise is also great for mental health. So we know that there's this one study that said that if you looked exercise versus antidepressants head to head, by 12 weeks, they were equal. The antidepressants and the exercise were as good, and this is cardiovascular. And by 10 months, exercise was better than antidepressants. So it's a dedication to the long term, to really improving. It's not like a week, oh, I don't feel better, I'm still sad. No, make that commitment to yourself to, this is brain change. And I'm going to dedicate myself to what it takes, because I want to get out of this. And I get it is hard.
And Wendy, of course, it's important to point out that if you have been prescribed antidepressants, work with your doctor. There's lots of great research, diet and exercise. It's all combined together, but we just don't want anybody to hear.
Absolutely.
Hey, Gabe and Wendy said, stop taking your meds and go for a walk.
No, and that goes for any kind of med. That's a blood pressure med, anything like that. You want to work with your doctor, because coming off of some things abruptly can have problems too. So, and if things are kind of out of whack, some medications can have a good effect on the brain as well. So, absolutely, talk to your doctor, work with them. See, and even starting an exercise program, especially a cardiovascular one, you want to check with your doctor if you haven't done anything like that in the past.
Wendy, let's talk about sleep. I believe personally that sleep is one of the most ignored things in our culture. We need it. It's required. We have to have it. And yet it's, oh, you slept, it's lazy. You slept too long, you're lazy. You need an extra hour, just get up an hour early. We treat sleep like it's garbage. But in actuality, sleep is a really excellent indicator of where we are Mentally, it drives us physically. Can you talk about sleep and its importance with brain health and, well, frankly, overall health?
Sure. So believe it or not, so it's not just like you're needing to rest. Yes, you're resting and you're kind of recuperating, but you are actually cleaning the brain when you sleep. So I mentioned the neurofibrillary, the tax and the plaques and the tangles, the things that build up in your brain. And sleep is when you clean it. Your body and brain aren't doing much else. They need you out of the background so that they can do that. So it cleans the brain of that. It cleans the brain of toxins. So we've got to sleep, and you've got to sleep for what you need. So for an adult, it's about 7 to 8 hours, but some people are more. My daughter went through a period, and even now, where sometimes she needs 12 hours. And that's what it takes for her to recuperate. And I just had to learn that if you tried waking her up before her 12, man, was there trouble on a lot of different fronts. So it's what you need. And then you can look at, I know WebMD has a kind of a chart. You can just Google how many hours of sleep by age, and you can see. So children at varying ages need more or need less. So it's a good thing to understand. Like sometimes teenagers need more. So we need to let them have that, or else they're not getting their brain cleaned, and they're not fully able to do what they need to do during the day.
It's interesting that you brought up teenagers, because I'm 44 years old, and I still remember my father waking me up and telling me that I was sleeping too much, that I'm going to sleep my life away, that I'm going to sleep the day away. But in his defense, it's more than just sleep, right? It's also about going to bed at the same time, getting up at the same time. And so he was half wrong in that I did need sleep, but he was half right in that I was just sleeping whenever and going until I fell over. And that's not healthy either, right? So it's not just about the amount of sleep, it's the quality of sleep. Can you explain that a little bit?
Right. So we need to maintain good sleep hygiene. So that's things like going to bed at the same time every night. It's putting away the electronics, getting rid of that blue light beforehand, and setting up, having darkness at a level that you need. I'm really weird. I feel like I have paper thin eyelids. Like little tiny lights in the room, like from the TV and things. I mean, the TV on, I mean, just the light that indicates that the TV's there. Things like that can bug me. So, it's doing everything that you need to do to having the temperature usually a little bit cooler when you sleep. But all of those things are really important. So there are two things I would think about with teenagers. One is, what are they doing when you think they went to bed? Because they may have not fallen asleep until 3 o'clock in the morning. So are they just on social media or playing a game that late? So we need to understand that and help them to understand the role of sleep and the role of sleep on mood in general. So waking up cranky. And then the other thing with teenagers is also making sure, especially right now, that there's not a mental health thing going on, that they're not depressed, right? So that'll keep me in bed longer too, if a child's depressed. So we need to be watching out for that too.
Wendy, you've talked about being positive, being resilient, diet and exercise, sleep. It seems impossible. I agree with everything that you said. I want to be like very, very clear. But what I keep thinking in my mind is, oh wow, I can't do all that. It's incredibly overwhelming. Can you help the audience break it down into bite-sized pieces? Of course, the journey of 1,000 miles starts with a single step, but 1,000 miles is a lot of miles.
Yes. So I think that you have to understand yourself, and you have to understand how do you best, you've probably tried things in the past and succeeded, and you've tried things in the past and you've failed. So you have some things that you know about how you do things. And I know for me, I've attempted dieting over and over again, and I've tried this way and I've tried that way. And so you need to look at what do you need to do? So we've talked about a lot of different areas. Is your best approach to go after one thing at a time? Maybe you're going to go after food and you're not going to worry about exercise for now. Or maybe you just, even within food, you just decide, okay, I'm going to try getting rid of my diet soda or my Twinkies or pick your thing, and maybe red meat. And I'm just going to try to get rid of that. You have to know what you can handle. Other people can tackle everything at once. I'm kind of all or nothing right now. I've got kind of a everything going at once, and it's really working for me. And the other thing that I'm doing differently right now, so I've always gotten really excited for January 1st. And because like even in November, I'm like, I want to set my goals now. And I would wait until January 1st. And after it took me years, and I was like, that's really dumb. Why can't I just start now? So what I do this year, the last couple of years, is the first of every month is Happy New Year. That's when I reset and I see how did I do the last month, and how am I, and set up for where am I going to go for the next month. And I have the whole year of goals, so I know when I'm off and when I'm on. So I have a target number of vegan meals that I want to have each month. I have a target number of minutes of exercise that I want to do each day, and then that gains throughout the year. And that kind of probably sounds obsessive to a lot of people. It's not. For me, it's not. And I have my checklist that's next to me every day. And here's February. And I know you can't see what that says, but it's my check off to make sure that I'm on track, because it's so easy for me, again, looking at what are you good at, what are you not good at. It's easy for me to go, well, like to not do the elliptical today and then forget about it tomorrow. And sooner or later, you're not doing it anymore. So it's for me to go back and go, oh yeah, I committed to me that I'm going to do this. And then setting up things so you don't want to feel like a failure. So like I will just reset. If there's something that I didn't do in January, I go, okay, well, what's more realistic for February? Or just start all over again and go, okay, no, we're just gonna start new now. So it's never, and even with the whole vegan thing, yes, it's absolutely the best diet. The research shows that over and over again. And I can talk more about food research in a second if you want me to, but I just distracted myself.
I do that all the time.
Usually I'm so good at moving.
I love what you said about, resetting every month. But here's the thing that I keep thinking about. I believe that I can exercise more, and I should, and it would be healthy and beneficial. But nothing on the planet is going to make me a vegan. So, but I'm assuming it's not all or none, right? It is beneficial to exercise even if you're still eating the Twinkies. Is that correct? So I don't want anybody to hear, oh, well, I either have to do it all or I get zero benefit. Is that accurate?
No, you're right. What you said first is that every change that you can make is going to benefit you. So do what you can. Maybe you just work on getting your sleep better. That's an awesome one to work on, isn't it?
Yeah.
Work on what can you do, and then maybe you hit another area, especially if it seems overwhelming. Then do what works for you. And as for nothing on the planet going to make you vegan, the more you read, or there's some great documentaries now, which you probably, people are like, oh, I'm not watching them then, that's going to convince me. But there's some great documentaries. I know on Netflix, there's probably others as well that will, you hear about what it does to your body, some of the dairy and the meats and different kinds of meat, not chicken, bad too. Then you start going, maybe I can cut this out a little bit, and start looking at what do you, I think the hardest thing about becoming vegan is, I cook, I love to cook. It's kind of one of my creative outlets, is I did not have enough vegan recipes. We all have this kind of repertoire of what we eat and what we like to eat, and what we can cook and what we think to cook, especially last second, like, okay, I can throw spaghetti and meat sauce together really fast. Well, you could start by looking at, what do you already eat or cook that is vegan or is vegetarian? Because vegetarian would be the next step then. So having some dairy in, like cheese or something. Cheese is hard for a lot of people. Cheese is hard for me too, but there's better vegan.
How do you give up pizza? I know that's a really weird thing to think about, but every time you say vegan, I think pizza. No, pizza good. Pizza
yes,
good.
Yes. There are some, okay, pizza, good, so good. You can, there are some really good pizzas that you can make where maybe you just have a different sauce. You can also, like, sometimes I've seen hummus, I've seen a vegan Alfredo sauce, and vegan Alfredo sauce is good. I've made a few of those, very, very good. So you can play with that. Well, the red sauce isn't the problem anyway, it's the cheese. But you can, so I'll take a piece of naan bread. I don't know if it's the Indian naan.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Bread, and I will pile roasted vegetables on it. And that's kind of our pizza. But I will have a slice of pizza from time to time. My family, I'm pulling them along as much as I can. And what I have decided this time around, so I told you I was a vegetarian. I was a great one, and then I was a terrible one as my kids came along and life got busy, and I was just grabbing things that didn't have meat, and calling that vegetarian. What my approach right now is, I am ramping up. I'm mostly vegan, but if my family is out and I want to have that slice of pizza with them, if I really want to have it, then I'm going to have it. And I have a number of days per month that I want to try to be vegan. And so that's another way to go too, is just make sure that the bulk of them are vegan, or again, vegetarian is next best. Pescatarian is next best, which is where you eat the fish. But just do the best that you can with any one of these things.
It seems a lot like, and again, I'm not, I know very little about nutrition, except that it really seems to me like your super processed foods are not good for you physically, mentally. It doesn't make as somebody who lives with bipolar disorder, I know that it's not good for my mental health. It seems like it's also not good for things like, memory, brain health, etc. And by super processed, I mean, I'm talking all the way from Twinkies to fast food to French fries. Is there like a big uptick if you just kick that out and stick to lean meats? I know you kind of talked about the spectrum a little bit. Can you sort of, lay that out for us? Like, what should people cut out first and foremost to get to this journey?
Absolutely. Like what you're saying, cut out the processed, cut out the fast foods where you can, or pick and choose. So maybe you grab the salad or the fast food, all of that. So do the best that you can. And you might find that you feel so much better that you're willing to take the next step and see how much better you can take from there. So yeah, get rid of the super processed first. And that can be a struggle. We are, as a society, we are just we have access to such good tasting garbage that we are, what are they called? Like they're the neuroexcitatory things in the foods that we want more. And I just read that dairy actually has it forms like casomorphine or something like that links onto the morphine receptors in the brain. So it doesn't do the same thing to your body, but it does do that same kind of, I want more cheese. And a lot of us have had that feeling before. So do recognize too that that it's the food kind of calling you, and if you can get off of it for usually 3 days will give you a nice break. A week is even better. 2 weeks is really good. If you can just decide you're going to get off of something for that long, especially the sugars, the pastas, those kinds of things, and you'll see that you don't crave them in the same way anymore. I love gummy bears. I can't go near them. Once you have it, you're gonna keep having it. I'm gonna find another excuse to replace that bag when it's done. If I don't have them, I haven't even thought about them in a while. Now I just have to be careful now because we talked about them. But you get rid of it, get away from it, and it's not a trigger anymore.
One of the things I've sort of been leading the viewers to see if you notice behind us is water. Now, I love Diet Coke. I drink frankly, so much of it. But I know that water is important to physical health, and I imagine that water is equally important towards brain health. Can you talk about the benefits of drinking more water, or in my case, drinking any water at all?
Yes. So water, being hydrated is great, again, for all aspects. We need it physically, we need it for our skin, we need it for our brain. We stop thinking clearly if we're dehydrated. We need it for mental health, for helping to purge out toxins out of our body. So it's great on all levels. Make sure you're getting good water, and they will actually come out to your house. Some of these companies that do the water filtration systems, and they'll test it for free. It turns out that here in Mount Juliet, we have pretty good water. So that's a way. You may not have to do bottled water or anything like that, but yeah, really important. And I just make sure, my family's probably sick and tired of seeing this thing. It has water in it at all times, and it's always with me. And Coke Zero is my vice that I'm still working. I'm talking with myself. So I've gotten rid of meat. I've gotten rid of processed foods. I exercise every day, but darn that Coke Zero, I'm only human too. And I know better, and it's still hard. And I'm sure that if I got rid of it, again, I've gotten rid of it for periods of time, and then something will bring me back, man, and I'm back in.
It always tastes so good. Like, I seem to, the few times I've tried to give up Diet Coke, I last for a little bit, and then there's like popcorn or potato chips, or I'm at like a pizzeria, and it's just, there's something about pizza and Diet Coke, pizza and popcorn, pizza and chips and dip that just it pulls you right in. Of course, the whole thing is bad.
Yes.
It's not like I'm maintaining a vegan diet, running 4 miles a day, and drinking a single Diet Coke. It seems to go downhill for me pretty quickly. But it sounds like, if I understand correctly, that even small changes can garner big results. Getting better sleep, being vegan once a week, getting exercise, 3 times a week, even just, a walk around the neighborhood for a half an hour. I think so many people think that there's nothing they can do about it because they hear all the high-end options, become a vegan, exercise daily, cut out, and they think, well, that's never going to happen. So they just never try.
Right. Every step that you take is better. So just find the ones that you feel like you can take. Like Coke Zero is going to be my last thing on my list, probably. It just is. I'm not ready to tackle it right now. I know, isn't that terrible? But that's who we are. So yeah, tackle what you can. And the reason why. So I also said I'm not putting it out there to myself that you're 100% vegan and that's all you are, and you can never have that slice of pizza, because I don't want to feel like I failed, because that's not going to serve me. That, you had a piece of pizza, you failed. You can't even call yourself a vegan anymore. Well, I'm calling myself like a vegan in process. So don't make it that you failed if you didn't exercise today, or you had a Twinkie. Every day or the next hour. It's not even like, don't even write off the day and say, I had my Twinkie for breakfast, so I might as well just have whatever I want for the rest of the day. No, right after that is an opportunity to try to do better. And so we're just all each day trying to do better and better. And you can reset whenever you want and just try to do that next thing. Yeah, please don't be, it can sound like a lot, but I think when you start making steps, you start to feel good, and it makes staying there better. Like starting exercise is hard. Um, Having someone who exercises every day not exercise is hard too, because your body wants it. I want to exercise now every day, and I want to put my mileage in that crazy little app. So I've got these, I was looking for those little motivators, to keep me going. So find a friend that will do it with you. Now you have to be careful. My husband will be the first one to buy the pizza and put it in front of me and say, hey, you want some? So know who can help you with what, and get some support. And in the case of this Conqueror Challenge, maybe it's not family or anybody that you know. There are lots of groups out there that can help you with a variety of different things. And maybe you can start something locally too, like, virtually. There might be other people in your neighborhood, even. There's the neighborhood app that are interested in, again, you don't have to get together with anybody, but maybe there's people that that would be interested in working on the same thing. And again, you got to find people who will keep you motivated and not say, let's just can this whole thing and go have a glass of wine.
Yeah. Wendy, you touched on this a little bit earlier, but we have a question from the audience. Why does our body crave things to eat that are bad for us? I know you touched on this slightly, but can you give us sort of the big picture?
Yeah, so a lot of foods have excitotoxins in them and things that make us crave more. And the companies that make foods are really, and beverages are really, really good. They know exactly what they are. And I forget what they call. There's this place where it's the perfect blend of sweet and salty. So sugar, salt, they will all get us wanting more of that. So they know exactly what to put in these things to make us want more. There's corn syrup, all of those things. They are what technically is what happening with some is like I described with the dairy. The protein is actually connecting with different receptors in our brains and making it, now that we've had that, we want more. Our brain is craving that. And so we've got to just, let's say you've got really bad habits, understand that it's, we can control it, but it is tough. And that once sometimes recognizing where it's coming from, it's not that you're weak, that, I can't do this. It's, they know how to get us to eat more. You can't eat just one potato chip, right?
Yeah.
You can't, because
that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, they put stuff in it that makes us want more. Yeah, we literally can't. Try it. No, try it. Don't have the one. So sometimes it helps though, knowing that what's happening. So then you can say, okay, this is just that sugar craving. For me in the gummy bears, it's I will turn that on and it will lead to more than the gummy bears. So let's just not even turn that on. And when you're fighting, kind of struggling to get off of something that you crave, knowing that it's just getting through this few days and you're beyond it. And then it's choice at that point. It's always a choice, but you know what I mean? It's not the body craving it anymore. It's more the mind going, ooh, those would be good to have right now. Let's fight that.
Wendy, we are almost out of time. Do you have any final words, resources, websites, links? What information do you have for our folks if they want to know more? And where can they find you?
Yeah, so you can find us at Brain Links. That's at tndisability.org/brain. And you'll find our email there. You can always ask some more questions there. On that website, very, very soon, we're going to have a beautiful brain health. It's going to be this fold out 4 pages, really good. Lots of this information to kind of remind you. It's almost done. It'll be up there soon. A really good help for the nutrition side of things is 2 things, both by Dr. Greger. One is How Not to Die book. It lists all of the top, I think it's 10 or 15 ways that Americans tend to die. Brain diseases is third, and it tells us what to eat. And it goes, it's all research based on how to what to eat in order to not have that thing. And then from that book, he developed an app called The Daily Dozen. And it's the 12 things that we need, water being one of them, that we need to get in our body each day. And here's a different approach to food. What he has on there is like, again, he takes all the research and things like beans we have to have every day. We should have every day. Of course, it's really hard to get everything that you need. Greens, and he tells you the number of servings. Cruciferous vegetables, which are because of what that group specifically does. There's things like broccoli and cabbage and kale and Brussels sprouts. So we need to have those. So he goes through all the different things that we need to have. And it's on your phone, and it will you can pick a time and it will alert you to fill it in, and or it picks it for you. And if you fill out that app, it's a good exercise. You'll see what you're missing. And then also, if you commit to it and you try to have, Gabe, I'm thinking of you with, not having or become a vegan. If you try to commit to those things, it's hard for you to have anything else because you're full. And you've had things like greens and nuts and seeds and fruits and berries and all of those good things, whole grains. It's hard to get it all, and because you can eat a lot of the healthy things and be doing good things for yourself.
Wonderful. Wendy, thank you so much. And everybody, this is the correct link right there. I accidentally added an S. I don't know why, but thank you, Brain Links, for correcting me and figuring it out. There is the link for everybody. Of course, a ton of information. Wendy, as always, you're incredibly awesome. Thank you so much for being here. Before we skedaddle on out of here, I know I've asked you like 3 times now if there's any final words. I just want to make sure that you tell us everything that you need to know to have healthy brains.
I would say start now. Don't worry about anything that you've done in the past. Start now. Figure out what changes you need to make, and just start to make them at whatever level that you can, and get support for whatever your particular area is. Find some support and accountability to help you through. You got this.
Thank you so very much, everybody, for being here. Listen, we want you to join NAMI Tennessee's email list. It's really super easy. You just go to namitn.org, sign up, and then you'll be notified of really cool things like the Facebook Live Mondays. You'll know when Wendy's going to be here. Like, that alone is worth the price of the email, which is $0. It's free. So please head on over to namitn.org and sign up for that. And we will see everybody next Monday. Wendy, wave!
Thank you.
Thank you.